Don't be depressed, because now the opportunity comes. I promise you, friends, AI will not take that from you. That's going to remain true. The final question that we have in the buyer's journey is almost the exact same question as the first question. To this day, a massive amount of companies still refuse to address that first question of the buyer's journey. Endless customers is the next version. It is the next level of They Ask, You Answer. And we're super excited that all of you have it. Let's get into the 4 pillars of a known and trusted brand. By the way, you're not depressed, are you? Don't be depressed. Don't be depressed, because now the opportunity comes. Now you get the chance to really grade yourself and say, how am I doing? How am I doing? How am I doing? What are we going to apply? What can we do? We get ideas from our people. This is the good stuff. I do not want you to beat yourself up during this session. What I want you to do is say, okay, opportunity, 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 because it's guaranteed that your competitor probably hasn't done the thing very well. So Endless Customers is now built around, They Ask, You Answer. It's built around these 4 pillars of a known and trusted brand. This is really the core. And this is where we want you to be focused in the coming years. As you're sitting around the boardroom table, you should be constantly asking yourself, as a team, as a marketing team, as a sales team, leadership group, what are we saying that no one else in our market is saying online? Number 2, what are we showing with video that no one else in our market is showing? And when I say no one else, I'm talking about the high majority of your competitors. Maybe there might be somebody else, but as a whole. Number 3, what or how are we selling in a way that no one else is offering in our space? And then finally, number 4, are we being more human than anybody in our space is willing to be? Those are the 4 pillars. We're going to take a look at each one. We're going to try to grade ourselves out to a degree. First pillar, say what others are not willing to say. Now, one thing that we've all in this room been way ahead on that hasn't changed whatsoever, regardless of what happens with AI, what has not changed at all is the Big 5. And it makes me happy to see that. The Big 5 is as strong today as it was, I think when I first mentioned it, probably 12 or 13 years ago. We know that as buyers, consumers, we continue to research 5 fundamental subjects. And I'm going to show you a few examples of these today. So what are the 5? As buyers, consumers, we continue to be obsessed with how much is it? But what's interesting about cost, and this is something that I think a lot of companies that have been doing They Ask, You Answer, and from this point on, I'm just going to call it Endless Customers, so assume that it includes it. Everyone that I've seen do Endless Customers, oftentimes they think cost is just how much does it cost. If you are really understanding the cost-based questions, queries, searches, fears that buyers have in your space, there's usually 15, 20 about the same subject, and they're separate pieces of content. I'm sure you've seen the same thing. You've got tons of things that evolve around money and cost, but they're separate videos, they're separate articles because they're separate questions or videos or whatever it is. Comparisons, reviews, and best. Funny thing about reviews is, more than ever, we don't just want the positive reviews. The biggest trust signal is that we also see the negative reviews, and we get to see how the company deals with said negative reviews. Best is not just best, it's most, it's top, it's all the things that rank. That's the Big 5. That, I promise you, friends, will be as relevant to you in 20 years as it is today. AI will not take that from you. That's going to remain true. And so we're going to continue to use that, and we're going to continue to build our content strategies around that, especially as we now evolve out to more platforms than we were doing before. The other day, I was sitting with ChatGPT, and I said, I want to create a simple drawing, like a caricature that represents the buyer's journey. I want a buyer at the beginning. I want a buyer at the end. And I want to show this journey like a line. And I gave it a few other prompts, and that's what it came up with. And I said, this is so great. So there's something interesting about the buyer's journey. When somebody has a problem, the second they say, I think I need this, doesn't matter what this is, a window, a door, a new accountant, commercial insurance, it doesn't matter. The second they enter the buyer's journey, the first question pretty much every single one of us has, the second we know we have that problem is what? Roughly, how much does it cost? Now here's what's interesting. It's not even how much does it cost. It's, so what's this gonna set me back, roughly? Like, what are we looking at here? You see, that's how we say it. That's how we think it. So the first question in the buyer's journey, once we know we have a problem, literally is roughly how much does it cost? Many of us in this room don't feel like we can move past that point in the buyer's journey until we have received an answer that, yes, this is viable. The second we know that it's viable, then we start to move through that 80% that you've all read about before and they ask you answer. And then we finally reach out to a company after we've researched companies. Zero moment of truth happens where the cross is. Then we start talking to a salesperson. Then we get a presentation from a salesperson. We get a quote, whatever it is. But the final question that we have in the buyer's journey is almost the exact same question as the first question, with one word, deviation. The final question is, exactly what does this cost? What's so fascinating is, even though we have been beating this drum and I've been talking about it for a decade and a half almost, to this day, a massive amount of companies still refuse to address that first question of the buyer's journey. And if any of those companies could physically track the amount of revenue and trust that they have lost because they refuse to allow that smile to continue to go down the journey, they would be shocked, stunned, and saddened. And so, what's great about this group is most of you all get it. It's sad to me, too, that so many companies are stuck on the idea that when you address cost, that somehow that means you are giving the exact price. Keep in mind, addressing cost isn't giving someone a quote. Addressing cost means it addresses the question, roughly, how much will this cost? That's what it means. And so, there's 5 levels of cost and price content. 5 levels. I want to see what level we are in this room. I'm super, super curious, like percentage-wise. All right, here are the 5 levels. All right, level 0. This is the company that has a pricing page that only has a form someone can fill out. Don't you love that company? Don't they make you feel so good inside? Level 1, you have a pricing page that shows cost, but gives absolutely no explanation as to value. That's level 1. Has anybody ever seen those? The industry that's famous for that? SaaS companies. Y'all have seen it, haven't you? They've got the good, better, best on their pricing page. They show you the features for each one, and you're left saying, I don't really understand the value of these 3 charts and what I'm getting for it. That's level 1. Some of you might be in level 1. Level 2, a pricing page that explains all the factors that affect cost, but doesn't give them a sense for real numbers. Now, I'm going to be really honest. Some of you in this room, I've noticed, are level 2. You've got an article, a page of your site that says how much does it cost, but you don't share any numbers. Is that a good UX, yes or no? Because that is not a good UX, and it's not fair. And that might have worked 5 years ago when no one wanted to address cost, but now if AI is going to recommend you, and if you're going to get clicks from them, daggone it, we got to give better than that. Which brings us to level 3. Level 3 is a robust pricing page that explains value, gives ranges, examples, graphics, etc. That's level 3. Some of you have done a tremendous job with level 3. Level 4, a pricing video that shows everything that we just saw or heard in level 3. The thing about the pricing video, though, is because they can tangibly see what defines value versus reading what defines value, it holds greater weight in the eye of the buyer. And then finally, level 5, a pricing estimator that gives them a range, keyword estimate, as to what they might spend. Those are the 5 levels of cost, price, content. Now, here's what I want everybody to do. Please join in on this. If you can honestly say you're level 4 or level 5, I want you to stand up. I want you to stand up. If you can honestly say you're level 4 or level 5. So we've got, if we're looking at this, this is just under 10% of the room. Mark, do we have work to do? Yes, sirree. He said, we got a bit to do, but are you excited? Yes. Yes, this is great.